Hi everyone, Holly here. Just introducing this little tiny snippet of a much longer conversation that I was able to have with Trey Downes of Your Superior Self podcast. And we're talking a little bit about Viktor Frankl. And I think Viktor Frankl's work, A Search for Man's Meaning, or Man's Search for Meaning, rather, should be required reading for every human being. I used Viktor Frankl as my introduction to the book, Finding Purpose, Surprising Wisdom from the Higher Self. So listen in to this tiny little snippet of my conversation with Trey, and we're talking about Viktor Frankl and why I thought his work was so important to introduce the concept of finding purpose. And then I strongly encourage you to not only listen to the rest of my podcast episode with Trey, but to subscribe to Trey. He's brought in a lot of QHHT practitioners into his work, and just a lot of thought leaders about optimizing human performance, and really encourage you to like and subscribe his work. I'll put the links below and how to hear more from Trey Downes of Your Superior Self podcast. Thank you for listening.
Dr. Duckworth, thank you for taking the time. I've been looking forward to this interview for all week, essentially, since we spoke before. Read your book, couldn't put it down. I can't thank you enough for your work. Your book is titled Finding Purpose. I love the cover, fascinating artwork. I love the content, Finding Purpose, and I absolutely love the introduction that you put in the book referring to Viktor Frankl and his work with logotherapy. Why did you, what connected you with his work, and why did you put it in the intro?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me, Trey. I'm looking forward to tonight. So Viktor Frankl is actually required reading when you get your PhD in psychology. So that's how I got introduced to Viktor Frankl. Unfortunately, I had never read his work, Man's Search for Meaning, before then. And for those that don't know it, Viktor Frankl he was in 4 different concentration camps as a Jew in Nazi Austria at the time. And he was a psychologist. Actually, back then, he was a psychiatrist, but psychiatrists were just MDs, right? There wasn't a specialty of psychiatry. He was just an MD, but his specialty was psychiatry. And once he got taken into the first concentration camp, he decided to approach his situation as a psychiatrist. And he started studying the people around him in the concentration camps. And what he really did, and what he writes about, and the point of logotherapy is, even in the most gruesome, awful, and in his book he goes into it in like serious, raw detail, what he went through in the concentration camps. But even in that situation, he found purpose. He found a purpose for being. And his purpose was studying the psychology of the people, the interned people around him. And he believes that him giving himself that purpose is what saved his life, because he saw all these people around him giving up a life purpose and then like dying terrible deaths. And so it was really, for me, in my book, Finding Purpose, Surprising Wisdom from the Higher Self, for me, what I learned from Viktor Frankl was, well, if he can find purpose in the middle of a Nazi concentration camp, we can all find purpose in our life.
Sure. And I think that resonates with me so much right now, because I feel like not only in my life, I struggle with finding that purpose. I find it in the podcast and in my work, my personal work, spirituality. But also I see it in society as well. Like, we're all going through this transition. You want to call it vibration, or whatever you want to call that. I see it. People are searching for their purpose, and they're having a tough time because a lot of the old paradigm is falling away.